All right, here we are at the Northern Neck Regional Jail on July 28th, 2023. This is day 932 since January 6th, and had a little problem getting started on the live stream here. But I think we're up and running, so I'm going to mount this back to the tripod and get going. By the way, tonight it's 92 degrees. The bank in town actually said 102. I think that was incorrect, but 92 degrees, certainly mid-90s. It's hot. I'm wearing the only white patriotic shirt that I have, which is a VAMFA, Virginia Medical Freedom Alliance, and what a great group they are. If you believe in medical freedom, go to VAMFA, VAMFA.org. No www, that doesn't work. It's VAMFA.org. All right, again, day 932 since January 6th, outside of the Northern Neck Regional Jail, as we are every Friday night. We're gonna have some callers tonight. Pretty hot day, so we're just gonna take it slow and easy here. And as usual, we start with the prayer, Pledge of Allegiance. Heavenly Father, please give all of the J6ers and their families courage as they work through their situations. Many of them are still in DC, have not been able to call to their loved ones, so please help the powers that be understand how important that is. Please guide the people here at Northern Neck Regional Jail that are in charge of so many lives, over 400 people here a month. Please give strength and courage to those individuals that are residing here, and help them to lead good lives, and hopefully when they return to society to be contributors. And as always, give strength and courage to all those people that can't be out, and support those people that need it the most. In Jesus' name, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we're looking forward to got a couple updates that I'll provide here. Wanted to just make a note that last weekend I was privileged to be in Lewisburg, Pennsylvania, where many of our guys have been after leaving here at Northern Neck Regional Jail. That was like a country club compared to this place. There's only one person left there of the J6ers, and that's James Grant. I did get a note from James. He says, I don't know if you heard, but some dumb stuff happened here, and I was taken to the hole for refusing a cellie with certain crimes, a cellmate. So he lost his phone for 90 days. It expires around the 13th of September. So he's in a communication lockout, other than being able to use Core Links, which is the email system. So anyway, it was nice to hear from James. Again, the last of the Mohicans, the only J6er that we know of that's left in Lewisburg. But what a great vigil those guys do up there. Jericho, Tina, and Roy, and they found a really great little spot, not too far from Lewisburg, from the prison, and They're a very dedicated patriotic organization, and there's a Tea Party group up there. It is the Lycoming Patriots. I think they're affiliated with the Tea Party, not sure, but you can check them out. Info at lycomingpatriots.com. And Tina is leading the charge up there. Wow, she's really got things going. Also was able to, when I was there in Pennsylvania, I was able to swing by Loretto, PA, which is where Jeffrey Sills is residing, and I think there's another 3 or 4 there, and several more headed that way. So Loretto will be interesting. I think we're going to try to get a vigil going out there to understand what's happening. Sounds like it's a better place than here at Northern Neck Regional Jail, but it's got its issues as well. So I have been corresponding with Jeffrey Sills a little bit, and he sounds like he's doing really, really well. Reading a lot of books, doing some training, talking about he's got a personal training certification class. He's talking about getting a real estate license. He's going to check into that. So he's really, making the best of it. And he got to see his mom last weekend, and they had a great visit. So that's some update on Jeffrey Sills. Talked about James and Julian Cater, and hopefully that will happen here shortly. So in the meantime, I will read the roster. I just got a text. Let me check that. And this is the list of names of all the people that have been through the Northern Neck Regional Jail for crimes of J6. Howard Adams, Zachary Alam, Tim Boehner, Nick Brockhoff, Jeffrey Brown, Mason Corson, Lucas Denny, Israel Easterday, and I'll finish that list in a shortly. Here, we've got a call coming from John Haynes. Hi, John. How are you?
Good, good. Are you set up yet?
Yeah, we're set up, and it seems to be broadcasting. I had a little bit of a snafu, but I'm glad you called, so we can get started. Looks like we're recording. So, yeah, welcome, John, and tell us what's going on in your world regarding J6.
All right. Well, we had talked real briefly earlier, and as I mentioned, Ryan Samsel called today, and we had an extended conversation. In fact, I was in the truck. I had to pull over. But he had a lot of information, some of it which you may already know. As I've been saying for quite a while now, a lot of this is going to come down to class action lawsuits where the J6ers pool their resources. And that's exactly what Ryan is working on now with an attorney named John Sheldon. Now, I think you've probably heard me mention him before. He's based out of Northern Virginia. He specializes in what's called post-detention law, which is dealing with people who are in the penal system. And he's actually gone up against the Northern Neck Jail on several occasions and has prevailed in some instances. When he did prevail, obviously there were cash settlements involved, and because of the non-disclosure agreements included, he can't go into specific details as far as which clients he helped and whatever, or they would be subject to countersuit. But anyway, I've done a lot of checking into his background. He's very reputable, very capable. He's also coordinating with other attorneys, and Samsel told me that he said it'll take about $15,000 total to find it, to really get going, and Samsel's already raised most of that. And he's going to be texting me some information. They've got a special donation site strictly for this class action lawsuit. And this is going to benefit all the J6s, or at least almost all of them. So that's something I wanted people to be aware of. Tom, I'll give you more details, or you can send it out in a bulletin, and I'll be donating ad space in this upcoming edition. But a lot of people are trying to figure out where they can contribute and how they can be most effective. And this class action suit, which is what I've always thought this would come to, is a way that we can all help at one source, but help all of them. So anyway, that's the first thing I wanted to bring up.
That's great, John. Do you have a website you can call out where that fundraiser is, or is that something you'll send later?
Well, this is brand new, and I just found out about it on the phone today. I've been talking with Sheldon all along, and I know Samsel has already raised a fair amount of money on his own, I guess mainly through his Give, Send, Go. But anyway, he's going to be texting that to me, he told me. And he may have already done it, but evidently my storage is full. I got to figure out how to empty it out. Okay. But I should have that. I'll have all that the next day or so, and I'll email all the details to you, and then you can further disseminate it.
Sounds good.
So, I think that's going to be one thing that will really help. Also, on a background note, he was very encouraged that last month we did that expose on Captain English there at Northern Neck Regional Jail. And Tom, I saw your interview with Mel Hawley of Justice in Jeopardy, which I thought was very good, by the way. And he mentioned that specifically the English article, and I think it has had quite an impact. So one of the things he told me is as you recall, English tried to pretend like he didn't know who Samsel was on the 9/11 right after he'd received a severe beating. Well, we talked further, and evidently he had quite a bit of back and forth with Samsel, and was fond of calling him a domestic terrorist. He also would taunt him, saying things like, well, how's your friend Donald Trump helping you now? He ran out on you. He's not going to help you guys. So evidently it wasn't just the regular abuse all the prisoners put up with. They were treated to even a higher level. And I'm not saying all the guards act like Captain English, but evidently he's got some far left political views, which I think maybe some of his constituents might be interested in that.
Yes, indeed.
So, and I don't think a lot of the J6ers were aware of how prominent he is in the community. And actually, I've talked to some people that he grew up with, and other than this, he was not known to have ever really gotten in trouble or that type of thing. I think he's more of a devious type. But anyway, this new Jason Aldean song, right. Don't Try That in a Small Town.
Right.
Well, I think Captain English is finding out that people in a small town don't appreciate that type of thing. So, anyway, I just thought that's something that some of the listeners might be interested in.
Yeah, well, thanks again to your reporting, getting it out there, because none of the other papers have followed any of that. So I think that there again, the Sentinel comes through. Hey, you mentioned Mel Hawley, and did you see her recent interview with Ryan Samsel?
Yeah, that's the one. In fact, I believe you sent the link to me.
Yeah, good.
And that's the one where he mentioned specifically our reporting on Captain English. Right. Because, and the reason that's critical for a couple of reasons. Normally, when these things finally come to light, they try to blame it on the underlings. And as you know, the two primary...
John,
yeah.
I've got a call coming in. I'm going to have to drop you, okay?
All right, take care.
Thanks, man.
You will not be charged for this call. This call is from
Julian Cater.
This call will be recorded and subject to monitoring at any time. To accept this, you may begin speaking now.
Hey, Julian, this is Tom Jeffries How are you?
Hey, good. How are you?
Great, great, great. Glad to hear your voice. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah. Good to hear you too. What's going on?
Well, we're outside of the Northern Neck Regional Jail out here doing our Friday night vigils as usual, and it's about the mid-90s. It's pretty warm, but anyway, we're here. So tell us about you. Where are you right now?
In FCI Raybrook, which is in upstate New York, pretty much by Canada.
Okay. Yeah.
So, but like we have a lot of cooler days, and it's kind of cloudy right now, so it's not too bad.
Good. Yeah. So, are you from State College, or you just lived there for a while?
No, I just lived there. That's where actually I just moved there to because I had a business. So, yeah, I lived there. I lived in North Carolina for a couple of years first, and then I moved to State College, and then I lived there for a couple of years.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a nice area of Pennsylvania. I know a lot about it. Yeah.
It is. It's very nice. It's it has like 9 months that are like, it's in a valley, so it gets like extremely cold in the mountains up there, which is I had to get used to, but it was no, it's a very nice town, and a very, if you go like 5 minutes outside the town too, it's like where the high school is, and there's very nice people there.
There really are. You're absolutely right. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your story. This is your nickel, and like I always tell everybody, your voice is your most powerful tool. So we're happy to put it out there. We're live streaming on YouTube at Northern Neck Patriots, and so if you want to share that with anybody, that to let them know. But yeah, this is all you.
Yeah, no, I'm surprised that you're at Northern Neck, because I thought when they lost their federal contract that they transferred all the Gen 6ers out of there. Or at least that's what I heard.
Well, they did, but this is in our backyard. This is where the Northern Neck Patriots live, and we decided to continue the vigils again to bring awareness to you guys, not only the guys that went through here, but all J6ers. But the other thing that's come to light, Julian, is we're learning a lot about how these jails and prisons work and how people are treated, and we're trying to bring light to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I had the unfortunate pleasure of going there too, pre-trial. So I was arrested on March 14th, which was 2 months after January 6th, and they kind of flew me all over the country to take me to DC. So by the time I got there, they had flown me from Oklahoma, Grady County, to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Then they drove myself and 6 other people from Harrisburg, PA, to all the way down to where's Warsaw, I think, in the middle of nowhere. Kind of seemed to us when we were driving, we were like, we passed DC a long time ago. Like, where are they taking us? And so even though I had a clean record and I hadn't been to court yet, I still I thought there was a thing called innocent until proven guilty. But they treated us like convicted felons already, like when we were in pretrial. They had put me in a black box everywhere I went, even though I was still innocent. And they would, some marshals would read my file out in public. Some would, make jokes and ask me if I had really done the things on there. And Con Air was kind of overrated, nothing like the movie. So, so they took me there on purpose. They took me there for 2 weeks. They put me in one of the worst pods in Northern Neck, in A pod, which is the lowest one down. And I said, why was I separated from my group? They all went to like a dorm. And it's like this was like a common theme. Everywhere they took me, they separated me from the whole group, as if I was like some of the worst of the worst, or I don't know, whatever they had on my file or they were instructed to do. But yeah, I was there for 14 days. It was not pretty.
So were you in APOD most of that time, Julian, or did you get to mix in with others at all?
No, I was there the whole time, and I submitted like a request or a grievance or whatever, and then they replied. They said, we'll monitor your behavior. You have to spend 21 days without any and then if you spend 21 days without getting into any fights or without doing anything, they move you up to a better pod. But I was like, I'm not even like, I'm pre-trial. I'm only here in transit, so why was I even put here to begin with? They wanted to set me up for failure everywhere they took me, but it didn't work. So, yeah, that place was really, really bad with I don't know, just things are rampant in there, the chaos and the drugs and the violence.
That's what everyone tells us, compared to other places they've been, that this is the worst. Even worse.
Yeah, Northern Neck was really bad. Yeah, it was really bad. I mean, we got locked down because in APOD we got locked down like every other day, because of one thing or the other. There were fights. I've seen, I saw like 1 or 2 people assaulting officers right in front of me in the pod. I've seen other people fight, and among other things that happened in there. So, yeah, that place is not the prettiest. But they took me there, and then they transferred me from Northern Neck to D.C. on the day of my bond hearing, purposely so I would miss it.
This call is from a federal prison.
And intake, we had a pretty interesting intake there. The nurse was like, took out a "This is how far I'm gonna put it up your nose," and we were like, "No, you're not." So she went and got the sheriff, and she made a whole big thing because every place we went, we kind of took the Q-tip ourselves and did the 3 swirls and kind of gave it back, but this lady wanted to shove it all the way up our noses. I was like, that's not happening.
And that was here at
Northern Neck? That was at Northern Neck, yeah.
Wow. Which is a medical facility, by the way.
It's crazy. It was pretty funny because she turns around and then she goes, cause she made like the measurement of how far she's gonna do it up. So she's like turned, cause we had 2 black guys from Baltimore with us. And then she's talking to the lady at the desk, and she was like, if it was a line, they would have done it. And just like right in front of us. And then one of the black guys, he kind of says something inappropriate back. But he was like, "You're the only crackhead here," and then a curse word. It was kind of funny, but that was the treatment from day one. And then, they separated me, and then they threw me in one of the worst pods. And I can't explain to you what happened in there other than, by the grace of God that I ended up sitting at the table that I did. And then, I was kind of playing cards all day to stay out of the way.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. So 14 days later, here come the marshals again at 2 a.m. waking me up, telling me that I'm moving again. And that's when they took us to Washington, D.C. I mean, that intake was just as ridiculous as the Virginia one. The first thing I heard was, them congregating all the people, like the nurse with all the officers, and they were like, "These are very dangerous people. Throw them in the redneck tank." They already had a name for C2B where we would be. So I'm like, the redneck tank, that's, that was just like a preface to how they were going to treat us the rest of the time. But
so that 2 a.m. thing seems like a common theme too. Was that, so when did you actually get on the van and depart here? Did it take that many hours to get people gathered up and ready to go?
They do that the marshals do that everywhere. They take you at 2 a.m. and then they put you in a holding tank, and you don't end up leaving till about 5 or 6 a.m. So you're sitting there for about 4 hours, still trying to rub the sleep out of your eyes, and eating a stale bologna sandwich while the marshals get everything together. And then it's usually depending on where you're going, like we were just going from Virginia to D.C., but from Oklahoma, to get on the plane and to get on the van, it's like a 48-hour ordeal that you don't sleep really that much. So, they always come at 2 in the morning, and they don't tell you when they're coming because, they don't want anybody to know, to try to mess with the route or anything.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that you were here for 2 weeks, but you're now, I didn't know you were here, so you're officially, I'm up to 53. We supported a bunch of guys that were here. We were helping with commissary and so on, but there's been a lot more since then that we found out that we're here for a short period of time, either before we did that or even after. Most recently, there was one gentleman here for just a couple of days. But yeah, they haven't had anyone in here for long term since around March, and that was a guy named Jeffrey Brown was the last one to leave here. So,
yeah, it's yeah.
So are you pretty well settled up there in New York? Is that where you're going to remain for a while, or do you know?
Actually, no. I mean, I've been here for about 6 months, but I just found out that I'm being designated to this program, RDAP. I don't know if
This call is from a federal prison.
the program is called RDAP. It's like a drug and alcohol treatment that takes a year off your sentence.
Okay.
And they take you to a different facility. So hopefully I'm going somewhere closer to home, because ironically I'm farther than my family here than I was in Washington, D.C.
Huh. Right.
So it's like you get sentenced, you wait 2 years to get sentenced, and then they send you somewhere even further than you were in D.C.
Yeah.
But you know, it's part of the journey. I've learned to just accept it. Yeah, so I don't know when or where yet, but I've already got screened. So they said after you get screened, it's kind of like the process has started. So I don't know where I'll be going yet or when, but hopefully somewhere closer to New Jersey.
Good. Yeah. Well, listen, I'm really glad that you called. I don't know how much time you got left. Is there anything else you'd like to put out? Do you have a Give, Send, Go? Do you know anything you want to plug?
Yeah, I do actually. Yeah, it's givesendgo.com/save Julian Cater. Save and then my last name.
And you spell your last name Khater, is that right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, I don't know if it'll give me the beep when I still have like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
But I'm currently involved still in a civil suit that it's one of the 16 that the President Trump is involved in. So they're still trying to go after this narrative that he was responsible for riling up the crowd, and then that I was responsible for the death of the officer, which is, I can't really comment on that right now because it's still an ongoing thing, but
well, I appreciate that. Yeah.
Crazy. And we're still having to pay lawyer fees to over 2 years later. Like, we spent an arm and a leg on my criminal one, and now the civil one, the civil guy is just paid by the hour. It's ridiculous. But we're getting by. I mean, it's taken a huge toll on the family, but other than pray and depend on the good people of this country for their support.
Well, there's more and more people behind you because it's more and more is coming to light. I know it feels like forever, an eternity that you've spent already, and looks like it ahead, but I believe that people will definitely turn this thing around, because it's become clear about the two-tiered system of justice in this country. And frankly, if you're watching the news and what's been happening with Hunter Biden and Joe Biden and all of that, people are finally starting to wake up and see it. They have to. So they're going to do the same with J6.
I mean, I hope so. But it's something to look forward to, and for the next election. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. It just gave me the double beep. So yeah, I just wanted to. Today?
No, we're hoping to here shortly, but I know they've been having phone trouble.
Yeah, because something recently happened. But definitely, tell them that I tell them to stay strong, and then you talk to me today, and I say, to everyone to stay strong, and then I'm thinking and praying for them.
I would definitely do that, and God bless you, brother,
right.
And stay strong yourself.
All right, God bless you. All right, I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, brother.
Bye.
All right, so Julian Cater, Julian Cater, Khater. So check out his Give, Send, Go and help him out. Unfortunate to be involved in a civil lawsuit on top of everything else. So I'll try to finish up the roll call here, and I'm obviously going to add Julian to our list. I think we're up to 53. I think I stopped at Lucas Denny, Israel Easterday, Brandon Fellows, Todd Gardner, James Grant, Matthew Green, Kenneth Harrelson, Albuquerque Head, Adam Jackson, Brian Jackson, Justin Jersey, David Judd, Cash Kelly, Hosea Kenyon, Nicholas Lagerund, Samuel Lazar, Marcus Malley, Mark Mazza, Patrick McCoy, Jonathan Mellis, Matthew Miller, Robert Morse, Jonathan Munifo, Daryl Neely, Ethan Nordine, William Norwood, Michael Perkins. Michael Perkins was the last one here for just a couple of days. Dominic Pizzola, Mark Ponder, Ronnie Presley, Mahila Pryor, Chris Quaglin, Barry Ramey, Zach Reel, William Reed, Howard Richardson, Thomas Robertson, Daniel Rodriguez, Jeffrey Sable, Ryan Samsel, Ronald Sandlin, Troy Sargent, Jeffrey Sills, Andrew Taki, Enrique Tario, Ricky Wilden, Kyle Young. All right. John, it's Tom. Do you want to finish up? John, can you hear me? Up, or were you done? I just want to finish up because I interrupted you, but that was Julian Cater. So I'll just give you a couple of minutes if you don't mind to finish up what you were saying, and then we'll just hang out for some calls.
It looks like this class action lawsuit really is getting some traction, and I'll get all the details to you where you can send it out to the members of the Northern Neck Patriots. And we're going to be talking about it quite a bit in the August edition. And the reason being, this is one place you can go to that will help several different J6ers, as opposed to trying to break up small contributions to several different people. And I've always felt it was going to come to this, but just to give you an idea of the impact, I'm sure the listeners are familiar with the opioid settlement, which was multiple billions of dollars, and then years ago with the tobacco settlement. So this is not any type of far-fetched scheme, and as I think you know in particular, but most of our listeners know in general, it's a target-rich environment. I've had trouble even cataloging the number of offenses, including human rights offenses. I think you've seen the handbook of the jail, and several of the rules in there just blatantly unconstitutional. So I think that's going to really be the way to go, and I'd encourage people to support that. On another note, as you know, the Northern Neck Sentinel has been expanding here the last several months. In fact, we're trying to update all our new locations and get them in the paper. But consequently, we could use, if anybody has some extra time, we can use help distributing and quite often redistributing later in the month as things run out. Also, I'm going to look for some help as far as bookkeeping, to help with billing and some, light office work. And we're obviously, we always like to get volunteers, but we're also willing to help pay, to defer people's expenses. So anyway, that's pretty much all I had to add, unless you have any questions or anything else you want me to go into.
No, I think that's great, John. Thank you. But that was Julian Cater that just called, and believe it or not, he spent 2 weeks here in Northern Neck Regional Jail. So, yeah. So,
well, I'm sure he enjoyed his stay, I would imagine.
He said he was in A pod, and which is one of the worst, and he just felt like he was lucky to get out of there in one piece.
Yeah. Unfortunately, they have a habit. It's not just Northern Neck, but they use that as an intimidation technique, putting them in with some of these really hardcore people.
Right. And
of course, that is strictly illegal. But as Ted Hull has said over and over, he'll do as he pleases. Right. For those of you not familiar, Ted Hull's the superintendent of the Northern Neck Regional Jail. Oh, and one last note for anybody who doesn't know, I think most people are aware that Hull's leaving at the end of the year. Norm Rosavi, the Westmoreland County Administrator, who's the one who really runs the jail, he's also leaving at the end of the year. So the rats are starting to desert the sinking ship, but that's fine. The lawsuits will be able to follow them wherever they go.
I think that's significant. I think that's very significant. You're right. And it'll be interesting to see what the new leadership does here. So, next jail board meeting is next Wednesday.
Right.
So we'll be here again for that, and anyone's welcome to come and join us for that.
Well, as you know, I've had a few back problems, but I'm going to make sure that I get those straight, because I'm afraid Mr. Hall and Chairman Fisher would be very upset if I don't show up. I think they've become personally attached to me.
I would think it would certainly ruin their day if you don't show up.
That's right. So I'll make my best effort to be there.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, John. Keep up.
Thank you.
Good work. Bye.
Bye.
How are you?
Good to see you. Just had a call from Jeffrey Cater, who I didn't know a whole lot about, but he actually spent 2 weeks here.
Oh, is he the one that just recently left?
No. In retaining when he was here. He's in upstate New York, way upstate New York right now. The one that you're referring to.
So has he been sentenced?
Yeah.
Okay.
Michael Perkins was the one that was here for just a couple days.
All right. Is that the one, the other Jeffrey, just the name that moved off? Okay. So is John having back problems?
He is. Too many sentinels reaching, bending over, picking up, doing all that, and he goes like the Energizer Bunny and overdoes it, and then back problems.
Oh yeah.
If you don't slowly allow it to recoup, then you do it, you hurt it again. Anyway.
Well, we're finding out more and more that this is not the only corrupt jail.
Right. Right. Well, I'm interested to hear. I don't know if you want to share any of that on
Well,
this.
did you said you went to Loretto.
Yeah, I drove by like 5 minutes to stop to the picture.
My understanding, it has overabundance of razor wire for the type of facility it is. Well, apparently somebody's buddy owned this company that put this razor wire on. We're also hearing, I'm not sure if it's Loretto or another one that, or some of them have been given money for AC and money was spent for other things. Now, something that's going on in Loretto, apparently the superintendent, kind of like here, they order nasty food or lower grade food for the guys, but they use the inmate money to buy them steaks and so forth for the CO. So apparently they had CO Appreciation Week, and this has just happened like a couple weeks ago, and they were supposed to cater it. For some reason it wasn't catered, so they used the inmate food. Apparently the BOP came in that particular day to do a tour, so they got written up for it. And apparently the BOP was back this week to do another tour.
Are you hearing that from within, from Jeffrey?
Same thing, I mean, and some people have already contacted the congressperson, and she said that we have to have names, and she's like, well, I'm not going to give names because they'll retaliate against them. So the congressperson was like, well, then there's nothing we can do.
Wow, that sounds familiar.
So, but the same kind of stuff like this in pools, serving possibly stuff that's outdated.
I'm not sure what's going on with DC. They've been not turning their phones on. Or
I've heard that too, that quite a few of the facilities have been on lockdown and been playing games with the phones and the tablets, and they can't call out.
right, and we've actually been calling into the jail. I've been encouraging everybody to call in there and complain about it. About the
Do you have a number that somebody will actually answer the phone?
Yep.
Because I went up there to pay Jeffrey's fines, and I stopped by there because they're still withholding his commissary money
In DC.
since April. So I finally spoke to a person. You can only call them Tuesday through Friday, 9 to 12. So she's supposed to pass the information on to have another person to transfer.
So, can I use your name? Susan Sills is here, Jeffrey's mom, and she's, I don't know if you can pick up on what we're talking about, but Jeffrey's in Loretto, Pennsylvania, and it sounds like there's the same kind of shenanigans going on there with different levels of food for inmates versus COs. So it's like this corruption is everywhere. And then we got on to discussion about the DC jail, and their phone system and tablets are run by a company called GTL, like Good Tom Larry. And you can call the DC jail. The phone number there is 202-790-6601. I put out an alert a couple of weeks ago to the Patriots, and a lot of people called because I got, at the end of the day, I got a note from one of our members saying that she made it through and talked to them, and they assured everyone that they're working on it, but boy, that a lot of people were calling about it. So that's good. We got to keep the pressure on. So again, DC Jail, 202-790-6601, and just tell them that it's not right for these January 6ers to not be able to speak to their family members and their loved ones like they're restricting them from doing that. It seems funny though that it also happens between 7 and 9 o'clock at night, which is when most of the callers are to the vigils. So. I don't know how long we're going to stick around, but that's the number if you want it. Well, I don't know if you heard John Haynes was talking a minute ago, but you know that Ted Hall's retiring this year.
This year?
End of the year. And Norm Wasabi, which is, I don't know if you remember which one, but he usually would sit with his back to us when we were in there as the public.
Yeah.
From Westmoreland, he's the county administrator. He's a career politician, 30-some years, 35 years up there, and then here from the very beginning. Setting this thing up, taking on the federal prisoners. If you think about it, this was a regional jail to begin with. So you would have people in here for crimes that you would normally get out here in the country and so on. And they suddenly take in these federal people. What does that do to your prison population mix? You know?
Well, they took the federal to pay the bills.
They did. That's right. Yeah. Yeah, it's all financial. They don't care about the inmates and what they have to put up with. It's not part of it.
Now, did they lose? Are they still taking federal? Does anybody know, or did they lose that contract?
So just to make sure this gets on the live stream, what Julian just said too when he was talking to us, he had heard that the federal contract was canceled. That's a rumor, I think,
Right.
that we keep hearing from everywhere. I know John has asked specifically of board members if they know anything about this, and nobody seems to know anything about it. So I think it's not that a contract was, because if you look at the prisoners mix that's in here, they still have federal prisoners in here, plenty of them. I think it has more to do with there was a decision not to bring J6ers here and house J6ers here. I would hope because of the pressure that all of us have been putting on it, going to those board meetings and standing up and raising Cain and being out here. I hope that that's what did it. When we did our tour of this facility back in March, I think, of 2022, superintendent made a big deal about saying how they've had plenty of high-profile people here, Paul Manafort, Chris Rock, Al-Qaeda terrorists, here with the big trucks and satellite connections and all that. So they're very used to publicity. Weren't very concerned about publicity at all. But this is a different kind of publicity. It's low-key and it's persistent. And people are saying stuff, and this is what we were talking about earlier with John Haynes. He's working with an attorney who is going to be putting together class action lawsuits, and I think that's what's really going to make a difference for some of these guys going forward. So anyway, I had a real nice email correspondence with Jeffrey. Sounds like he's doing really well. He's got a lot of stuff. He's reading a lot of books and getting some, training.
He's
and,
using his time.
yeah.
He's doing the personal trainer class to be certified.
Personal trainer. Wow. That's awesome.
History class. So, but I also found out why he quit the kitchen here too. As a trustee, after they starved the guys here. So one of the trustees had taken a jar of peanut butter, and then they started strip searching all the kitchen guys before they could go back. And Jeffrey's like, "No, I'm done." He's like, "I'm not going to go through this every single day." The guy was hungry.
That's a humiliation tactic, is all it is. They're not really looking for anything. They're just trying to humiliate people.
That's why he said, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do this.
Well, Ryan Samsel, in his interview with Mel Hawley on Justice in Jeopardy, talked about when he was put into a location, this was right before his beating, that it was a cell that they would make him strip down and he'd have to sit in there naked. And then when he would come out for whatever reason, they'd put on his jumper and be able to go, but was not allowed any clothing.
Is that here?
Here.
Or in DC?
Here.
Because I've heard DC's doing that too, to that Jessica Watkins?
Jessica Watkins, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. I'm thinking about turning off the live stream because I hate having all this. It's almost 8 o'clock. We'll give it a few more minutes and then I might shut it off. There seems to be an effort, if you think about a lot of the sentences that they're now coming back, the government's coming back and challenging them. That's almost unheard of. Rarely ever does the government come back and
Or
contest
them
the sentence.
taking their gifts and go funds too. Because Ronnie Sanderland that was here, he has, my understanding, they took his gifts and go or whatever at $22,000. Guessing it was spent on lawyer's fees. So now he has to pay $12,000 or he loses his good time. I've never heard of that either.
He has to pay $12,000 to what?
Or he'll lose his good time. He'll have to serve, say if he got sentenced to 5 years, but with good time he might serve 4 years and some months. If he doesn't pay the $12,000, he has to serve the full time. He loses the good time.
And what is the $12,000 for?
Restitution. But it's actually $22,000 he owes. They took his gifts and go, whatever was in that account.
Oh, gotcha. How can they attach, I guess they can attach to your bank account or whatever they want. It's just like the IRS, right?
Well, usually it goes to a family member or something. The gifts and go.
That's a pretty stiff restitution. What was the issue for $22,000? Because the sentences I saw, they were like $2,000.
Most of them are, but if you have a huge or a lot of gifts, if you have gifts and go, and then used a public defender, they automatically can take that, no matter what you do.
Well, we've been having pretty good turnout at these of late. Maurice and Cheryl have been here all the time. Larry shows up once in a while. Ron's here fairly regular. But it's been hit or miss with the calls because of...
They can't get out.
Well, yeah, and part of it was Antifa guy in there, and there was the big dust up, and everybody got thrown in the hole, so they had to get through that, and then just they're dinking around with the phone, so it's been tough to get through. There's something else. Next Tuesday is, of course, our meeting. I don't know if you're going to come.
That's coming up Tuesday, the 1st?
Yep.
Okay, right. And then the jail board meeting.
Jail board next day, yep.
Right.
But on that Tuesday is also the 1-year anniversary of their vigils down in D.C. Mickey and all that gang. So they're going to have a big shindig up there.
Wow.
I would love to go, but in a way, I'm glad it's on the same day because, you know, it's fun to go up there. I've been there. And But you know, it's DC. It's 2.5 hours away. And
That's like a good job.
yeah, that's right.
Well, I was either out of work, out of town, and then I came down with COVID. So,
I never sent you the number I was going to give you.
is her name Tina?
It is. You might already have the picture on your phone. That's her name, Tina MCC. That's her
Her.
email. I've never emailed her, but
Okay.
and then the other guy texted me her number. So just get so and stuff and never follow through, but that's what she said she's going to try to do, because they're Montoursville, which is just east of Lewisburg, so right up there around Interstate 80 and all that. So it's probably 2 hours for them over there.
Right.
But you know what she was going to try to do is go to, you know, Robert Morse did that mural up there, veterans. You ever heard about that? Back way before January 6th, he was up there doing something and part of this community group effort to paint murals for the VFW for commemoration. And he did these murals that talked about it in one of the visuals here, but you know, different scenes of battles and things like that. And he did a lot of that. So she wants to go up and do a vigil from there, but also from Loretto, because it's not far. I think the tour, I don't know where the mural is, but I think it's close.
Okay. Yeah, because my understanding, he was supposed to have been in Lewisburg already, waiting to go to Loretto, but he missed his transportation Tuesday.
Oh, really? Okay, I think we're going to shut down. If somebody calls, we'll turn it back on. Yeah. Thanks, everybody, for listening.